the dark, I plant my dreams. Permaculture flows like sweet streams. I'm the daddy with the know-how seed. Green the world like it's meant to be. Permaculture, P-I-M-P, I'm the king. Wrapping love in everything. Bringing change, making it last.
Welcome to episode 309 of the Permaculture Pimpcast, where PIMP stands for Permaculture is my passion. The only pimpcast on planet Earth where we discuss permaculture, preparedness, and practical living. That's right, y'all. That's where PIMP finds its place. And PIMP, by the way, stands for Permaculture is my passion. In case you didn't hear it the first 300 times I did it on this podcast. Anyway, here we are. Glad to be with you. Episode 309. Where did it all go? This episode, as always, brought to you by Hickory Ridge Soap from TwoOldCrowsHomestead.com.
Turn that simp into a pimp.
Bam! Heaven's Harvest, 10% off with promo code PERMA. And then also don't forget about the Living Soil Foundation, which I was out there working today on its behalf while Michelle was out there. I'll cover that here in a little bit. She was out doing something and I was out doing something. And that something was alongside the river, hoping to get some doggone results here before too long. We were 90% the last time I told you, and hopefully we've crossed the line, but you never know. The problem we're running into, at least as I see it, is these folks. I think the folks, whoever I work with in the future after this, I'm going to have two requirements. Number one, no pets, or the area in which I'm going to remediate can't have any pets, and you can't have any kids. At least kids that, when I say you can't have kids, I'm talking kids that if you tell them to stay off this area, they actually listen to you, not the ones where you negotiate with or you count or stuff like that. You know what I'm talking about, son?
Obedient kids.
There you go. Yeah, kids where you say, hey, stay off of this ground, because that's really, if there's any hiccup in anything we're doing right now, it's the fact that the area we're working in, I'm watching the one little girl. She's cute. I mean, she's a cute little girl, but she's over there literally hugging the trees, and they got their toys and stuff out there. I'm like, oh my goodness. Well, we'll never get any grass to grow here, so that's going to be a problem. So in the future, I'm definitely going to have to. This one has been a big learning experience for me in terms of what I'm going to have to require. We're going to have to rope the area off, no disturbance, because I'm reasonably sure that we would already be to the finish line by now if if there wasn't a whole lot of disturbance over there. So that's going to have to be a requirement.
And then also, real quick, if you create compaction before the roots have time to take over that area, then it's counterproductive to what you're trying to get done. And walking on that ground can create compaction, especially if you're playing on it over and over again. That's
the problem. And so we're kind of going backwards on a couple of things. So in the future, yeah, definitely no kids, no dogs, no whatever. You're going to have to follow my rules. And if you can't do that, then we'll work with somebody else. So that's going to have to be a requirement the next time, because it's kind of agonizing when you go over there, you do work, you mulch these trees. You had a bunch of volunteers out there and you're seeing things disturbed that, animal life didn't do. So yeah, that's definitely going to have to be, something we deal with in the future. Want to give a shout out there to Renewed Homestead. Thanks a million. Go check them out over there, y'all. They are handling the chat. And as always, don't start no SH and there won't be no IT in this chat. Let's see who we got in the house right now. A bunch of people. R. Moody's, Short Shelley, Bettina Ripperger. Okay. Yeah. Steve. Yeah, my man Steve. Just got to see him this last weekend. Fed Up, Renewed Homestead, of course. Aaron Johnson. Oh, yeah. Layla Bettany. Yeah, we got a whole lot. Oh, Ken and Amy's in the house, too. Saw them this last weekend, too. So I'll just jump right into the farm news. So
quick, Dad. Hey, real quick. I think you got to take that Wi-Fi blocker off. It's messing up with the quality of the audio.
It's already off. It's
okay.
Yeah, I don't know
Something's
what's
going on, man.
Yeah, I was having problems. I was trying to get on the internet a little while ago, and yeah, depending on the website, I was having problems. So I'm not sure what's going on, but I did take the thing off. So this last weekend, hopefully the signal's strong enough to make it through. But yeah, y'all, if you would hit the thumbs up, it always tells them to start suppressing us right off, because you know that's what they do. Powers that shouldn't be don't want any good information out. Certainly don't want us communicating with one another. But yeah, there was a gathering, a Homestead gathering. Ben and Denise put it on at Renewed Homestead. It was over at their church. And, it was, I know everybody's like really, really busy this time of year. So it's kind of like herding cats. And we had a surprise visit from, Michelle's cousin. And so we didn't stay long, but yeah, it was cool to see Steve, Ken and Amy, Ben and Denise, and a number of others that were over there, and got to make another good contact with a good doctor, not an MD, but a DO, which is in my book light years better for a whole variety of reasons. And that made me aware of all the capabilities that he has at his clinic in terms of sound therapy, red light therapy, laser therapy is what they call it. I mean, it's considerably more powerful than anything you can buy. So he invited me to come by there and give it a shot sometime. So I might have to take him up on that. So yeah, unfortunately didn't get to stay long. And then there was a meeting yesterday with like a freedom group in Asheville. Yeah, believe it or not, Asheville. Didn't get to make that one because we're playing catch up. I mean, this time of year, like everybody else, man, this is why we did that program a little while ago. Like, things are going to get away from you. And the best you can hope for is just, I make a list every single day. I make a power list every single day. And if I can get 5 of the things done on that list, I consider it a success. I got this basically from Andy Frisella. And then I have a little overflow list. So if I can get those things done, then I can get to my overflow. And, here lately I've been pretty successful. So, yeah, amen to that, Mark. Jesus is Lord. And I'm not afraid to say it. So, other things we got going on around here. Michelle is out there feverishly digging up Comfrey. It seems like, I know a lot of people have gone into the matrix, but a number of other people, I think with these tariffs, are starting to realize, son, you'll have to tell me what it's like on your end, but they're starting to realize, oh, snap. Things like the guy I told you with the wire in the last program went from $62 to $114 overnight. Yeah. And so China's not backing down, and everybody's going to find out just how many things are made in China. I mean, all the way down to the bacon. If you're buying that Smithfield bacon, y'all, where do you think it comes from? I mean, it's appalling. So I think people are starting to realize, man, I really need to find some outside the box thinking in terms of how we feed things. And so we're going to do a couple of videos on Comfrey and how we feed it to our animals pretty much every day. So we'll do that. And then also bone sauce. I can't even keep the stuff on the shelf. So many people are writing to me, telling me the great results they're having. All the time I'm improving this stuff with every single batch. So we got a little bit of both back in. It's like as soon as we put more on, it sells out that very same day. So folks, if you want some, you might want to jump on it, because it's a real struggle. This bone sauce, I'm not kidding y'all. It takes hours and hours and hours. That's it's so difficult to get right doing this process that even if I get it right, I mean, like the last batch I didn't get right. So then I got to spend a number of hours over and over and over again. Now I wasted a crap load of money in bones and a number of other things. So, it's not an easy process. So that's why that stuff is expensive. But hey, people are getting some awesome results from it, and they're using it in applications I didn't quite expect before. So, yeah, like experiment with the stuff. But honestly, I will tell you right here, right now, that it is primarily a deer rabbit repellent, mostly used in orchard settings. But people are having pretty good luck in their gardens. So, yeah, it's the best thing out there. You're not going to buy anything on the shelf that's even in the ballpark with this stuff. So yeah, other thing I did today actually was, this time of year, everything's a blur because I'm up before the sun rises and I'm definitely not in bed until late. It's just the nature of this business, folks. And a lot of you know exactly what I'm talking about, especially if you're new to homesteading, you're like, oh my goodness, man, what did I get into? Look, it has seasons for some people. I'm not one of them, but for most people it does. A lot of people take the winter off for the most part, we don't, or at least I don't. This time of year, grass is popping. Animals, you're not going to be able to leave them. You got to move them every day when you're in spring flush. And I've been covering a lot of that on Patreon, trying to get down to the brass tacks, because I had to go back and think. Somebody told me that I really needed to do this, that I needed to kind of break it down for people that have never done this before or don't know what to look for. So that's what I've been trying to concentrate lately on Patreon, is saying, okay, well, they've been here one day. Now, what's most important is to show everybody what it should look like before I let them regraze that area. If your grass does not have tips on it, folks, for those that don't want to do the Patreon thing, if your grass doesn't have tips on it, you should not be regrazing. That is the best way to set yourself backwards, especially when the grass just starts get going again, and then you regraze it again. That is the best way to have nothing but weeds in your pasture. So this time of year, we got to move the chickens, got to move the sheep every single day. If you got cows, whatever the case, right now in this spring flush, you just want them to take the tips off and then you get them moving. So every single day, and depending on your situation, I mean, seriously, son, I could be moving them twice a day if I wanted.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But the grass is so doggone thick right now. I'm having not enough stock on the ground, I'll be honest with you. So it's going to be tough for me to keep up. And that's a good problem, because think about it. At the end of the day, you can always go back to a mower. I mean, you could always use a mower if it came down to that.
That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing to improve pastures, just using a mower. In fact, right before this podcast, I was out there taking the tips off the grass at the demonstration site and then collecting that for compost.
Yeah. Or another way you could go about it, a really good strategy, is let your animals go through. Let's say they didn't create enough impact. You can go through with your mower and put it on the highest deck. And I'm talking, you almost want a brush hog for something like this, if it's a big enough paddock. And then you raise that brush hog to about a foot, depending on how much they took. And then it will improve your pastures even more. So there's so many different strategies out there, but I'm realizing, thanks to some people pointing it out to me, like, hey, you really need to slow down and show people what they ought to be looking for. So just right off the bat, you don't want to regraze it until you see tips on your grasses. Again, if you don't see those tips, then you're just setting yourself further back. So that's what I'm doing on Patreon. Let's see here. So your cousin Melanie came in to town, and always a joy. She's always a joy to be around, and man, she's like a doggone sponge. Every time she actually listens to the podcast, and probably the only family member. It's funny because everybody in the podcast game always complains that their own family never listen to it. You ever notice that?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like the people that, and I kind of understand it. I kind of get it. Like, you know, the person, you're like, you have access to them, you're talking to them and stuff like that. I don't know. I always find it weird when like friends or family members like watch my YouTube channel or the podcast and stuff. Not that it's like that's weird or anything. It's just like you can just call me. You can just text me if you have questions. You don't have to watch the YouTube channel. But I do appreciate it, because like every view counts, especially right now, which you were talking about the tariffs earlier. I noticed since those tariffs, my YouTube views have started going back up.
Well, that's part of it too. It was funny because I'd mentioned that everybody was going to go back into the Matrix, and they did it in record time. I mean, the astonishing part is the fast nature of how it all came down. Short Shelly, hey, and Farmer, we'll get to y'all's questions here in a little bit. I didn't forget about you.
There's more higher up too.
Okay, yeah, we'll back this thing up and get to y'all here in a little while. Don't worry. So anyway, what on earth was I just lost my train of thought there.
Talking about grazing?
No, I was talking about the podcast. No, a lot of podcasters, and because I know a lot of people that do this work in this game and on YouTube. There's one YouTuber in particular, if I said his name, I guarantee you know who I'm talking about. He said, man, it all happened at the same time. And he was talking to other YouTubers, and they all had the same opinion. Like, man, boy, what's happening? I mean, the views have dropped off. And because everybody fundamentally thought, okay, Trump's going to be in there. We don't have that previous moron in there. And they just went back into the Matrix. And of course, we expected that. And then now I think because people are starting to see, oh my goodness, these tariffs are going to be, we might have to batten down the hatches for a while. Well, it's not all roses just yet. And it may not be. I mean, you really don't want to know the full extent of what I think about how things are going to unfold. In fact, I think I've told you in a podcast or two ago how I think 2025 is going to go down. But yeah, anyway, I think those tariffs and people realizing, like that electrician I told you I came across. I mean, he had to spin back around. He's like, dude, I just can't do the job. There's no way. I will lose money. I will be working for free if I do this. So there's a lot of people that are finding out, okay, I better sharpen up my pencil, find efficient ways of doing this, or here's an idea. Here's how you can avoid all these things, y'all. And a lot of you out there know it. I know Ken and Amy do, Renewed Homestead, and a number of others, definitely Steve. Grow your own doggone food, as much of it as you can. And if you can, try to grow food for your stock. It's simple things like that. I mean, if you can avoid buying hay, do that. If you can avoid buying chicken food, do that. It's little things like that. But if you think you're going to go out there, why don't you tell everybody the fool's errand of just going out there raising chickens on Tractor Supply food?
You don't make any money, or you don't save any money if you're raising chickens for either broilers or layers. You don't save any money by going out and buying the food from or for them. I had some friends that raised broiler chickens their first time, and they paid about $30 per chicken doing it that way. So yeah, you don't save any money if you're buying feed from or for them. But you can totally save money if you do the chicken tractor on steroids method, which if you have a garden, it's a symbiotic relationship between your garden and your chickens and the waste scraps that come from your kitchen. Depending on how many chickens you have, like I have, well, I'm down to 11 since some of them got shot. But yeah, depending on how many chickens you have, you should not have to buy chicken feed for them. And if you have bigger numbers than that, then just partner up with a restaurant and take their waste stream. Utilize somebody else's waste stream to feed your chickens and start making compost at the same time.
Or another good way around it is, inside that chicken tractor on steroids, man, how many videos did I make about feeding them nothing but Comfrey on certain days? I mean, it wasn't even food scraps. I'd grab an armful of Comfrey. I mean, quite literally an armful. I probably ought to remake that video and show it with the layers and show how they will absolutely decimate that Comfrey. They will absolutely wipe it out. It's got everything you need in there for them. And I mean, obviously you want to feed them more, but yeah, they're back on pasture. They're eating bugs. They're doing a little bit of scratching. They're doing what chickens do. And yeah, it's a fool's errand to think that you're going to save money on eggs or whatever, or chicken or whatever the case may be, if whatever you choose to eat out of the deal. You're not going to make any money at all just buying right off the shelf. So you got to come up with some clever ways. And that's where that chicken tractor on steroids is the cat's meow. But it's also a zero-sum game, meaning the more holistic you become in everything you do, the more work it requires out of you. So if you're not
depending to an extent,
you're right.
Unless you stick to like perennial, you'd make that transition from annual into perennial, where that does become, yeah. If you're doing like straight up annual production and you're using like traditional methods to do that annual production, then yeah, it does become a zero-sum game. But if you're able to use like permaculture techniques and like perennials to kind of fill in the gaps, then you start increasing yields, which yields are like what you get subtracting, like you take what you got and then you subtract your calories input from what you get. And then what's left over is your yield.
Well, I'm meaning in terms of a person thinking, okay, if you're accustomed to just going out there, throwing some feed to your chickens, and then you go collect the eggs and you might move them every blue moon or whatever. If that's what you're accustomed to doing, then all of a sudden you find yourself in the middle of a chicken tractor on steroid system. That is a brutal shock to your system because you're thinking, okay, well, I didn't realize how much work was in here. That's why we did the videos, because there is a fair amount of work, but it all comes down to how you look at it. Okay, let's say you're doing like somebody wrote in the chat here, Bryson Lipscomb. William and his wife are doing 75 hard. And Brian,
oh, I'm not. Emily is. My wife is. I'm not.
Okay, but you have recently. And
yeah.
So, okay, so let's say you can make both of your workouts working in that system. But you are going to get a workout that's why farming early on didn't appeal to me. If it was like just the typical sit on the tractor, that kind of thing, no. I want to be knee deep in it all the way. And that's what I'm getting at, is that if you're a person that you have a laissez-faire approach to farming or whatever else, well, you're not going to like this system because it does require more out of you, but it is 10 times more rewarding than anything out there. So just keep that in mind. So, okay, so your mom's training for another event. I think she's going to do another, this time she's going to do another, instead of a 26-mile ruck march, I think it's going to be 20 miles. It's going to be in the mountains. And so she was out training for that today, and I was over there working on the project while she was out doing her ruck march. I was over there working on the project for Living Soil Foundation, and that's where I said, I saw the disturbance with a bunch of kids and stuff. But it was a beautiful day, notwithstanding the chemtrails. And that's what blows my mind, son, is that even people think it's blue sky out there. They've already forgotten how blue the sky was after that manufactured hurricane that happened here. Mm-hmm. And I still have that video plain as day. When I was over Ben and Denise's house at Renewed Homestead, I took a picture of the sky because it has not been that blue in living memory. Even on a day like today, you can't necessarily tell it unless you look at mountains in the distance, and then you see the haze. You see the stuff falling from the sky every single morning. There's gunk all over the windshields of the truck. I mean, so I'm going to keep, and I'm hoping everybody else does too, because their spring is, even though you think it's blue, it is not. I guarantee it.
It's hazy here today. It's been hazy here past couple of days, but on the forecast will show like clear skies. Like it's supposed to be clear skies, but it's hazy everywhere. Yeah. But
they're not accounting for the junk that they sprayed all during the night. Yes. Go out there, take your night vision goggles and you can see them doing it at night, but they got a different recipe now because so many people are complaining. I was on the phone with Dane Wigington the other day, and I should have asked him about it, but what they're doing, there's plenty of videos you can find on X of all of them spraying at night, and they have a different recipe where it comes down and it creates like a slight haze, but you think the sky is blue. You just think there's a haze going on. No, that's the junk they're spraying out of these planes. And if you doubt me, if you think this is all hogwash, go check out the latest stuff from Mike Adams, where he tested the stuff from Dr. Jane Ruby, and the levels of everything are so far off the chart. And these are chemicals that you do not find in the air. They're only found in soil. So the only reason they're there, they're not coming. And Dane had called me up because he wanted me to make sure everybody in this audience knew that despite what Alex Jones and some of these others, Sayer G and some of the others are saying out there, this is not jet exhaust. Here's how you know. You don't find, for example, aluminum. Okay, you're never going to find it in the air. It's always in the soil. So if you find aluminum on a surface, you know for a fact, 100% fact, that it didn't go through a jet engine, because aluminum disintegrates at 2,500 degrees. That jet engine is 3,500 degrees. But then again, I mean, crazy physics can happen. It happened on 9/11, steel skyscrapers just kind of fell in their own footprint in free fall speed. That broke all the laws of physics in there. So I got to be clearly wrong about that. So, anyway, it's not just jet exhaust. In fact, if you watch that documentary, The Dimming, they're actually spraying this stuff out of the back of the jets. And we got the video evidence. I mean, it's right there, plain as day. They are spraying this stuff. It's not going through the doggone engines. In fact, it would destroy the engines. So it seems to be one of the latest talking points out there from people like Alex Jones, who's a complete shill. And there's a number of others out there. When you hear them all, like I said, we're permaculture designers, so I'm really good at noticing patterns. That's what we do in permaculture. And when I see a pattern of all these YouTubers, all of what Dr. Shiva calls the not so obvious establishment, when you hear all of these people saying the same exact thing, some marching orders were given. So I'm like, oh, now they're saying it's coming through the engines. No, you don't get microplastics that can survive engines. You don't get all these other chemicals that are coming out of the jet exhaust. In fact, that test has been done over and over again. No, they are literally spraying tons and tons and tons of this garbage out there. And then when you check out the work of Dr. Jack Cruz, you find out the reasons why. and I put it on my X account today, that honestly, your access to sunlight is an open indication of your longevity. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a mic drop moment right there. So if they're able to cut off the sun or make you think, like my mother-in-law, that the sun is dangerous for you, or make you think that the sun is just the worst thing in the world, well, that's exactly what the powers that shouldn't be want to happen. That's what they want you to think. So I recommend, once again, everybody go out there, get that D-Minder app for your phone, and you just kind of dial it in. It'll tell you exactly, for somebody like me, it takes longer than for somebody that, might be rather, pale. It takes you no time at all to achieve the vitamin D that you need. And if you think you're taking a supplement and doing it, well, check out Dr. Alexis Cowan and Dr. Cruz regarding the supplementation of vitamin D, which I used to do. I don't do it anymore. And you find out that, if you're in danger of getting rickets, it's good for that, but that's the only thing it's good for. There's no, as he says, Tina, there is no alternative. You want to try to get that sun, and that's why they're blocking it out. So hopefully you're out there getting some of your vitamin D levels, son.
Oh yeah. In fact, if any of my neighbors were watching out at the demonstration site, they would have seen me take off shirtless while I was out there mowing, because I found a nest of yellow jackets. Thankfully,
Ooh.
I saw them before I got lit up. But yeah, I was out there shirtless mowing, and just started booking it once I saw those things. And man, they chase you forever.
Yeah.
They chase you forever. I went from the front of the property back to past where the fence is set up, halfway through the property, running, trying to get away from these yellow jackets.
Yeah, man.
And I slowly went back and was like looking around to see if anybody noticed. Nobody noticed. And it would have been funny if somebody had, though.
Well, then if you kill one, it's like they send out a pheromone, and then the rest of them, I remember I had them like all over me. It was the weirdest. When you get stung by yellow jackets, it's the weirdest. I mean, I've been stung many times, but man, from a yellow jacket, it's just it's a different kind of sting altogether. And I think it's way more painful. But remember, hey, if you do get stung by them, try urine therapy. I mean, believe it or not, they tell you to pee on a jellyfish sting. Try it on next time you get stung by a bee or something like that, folks, and see what happens. So anyway, my D levels are going up, and like so many others that do this work, I've been doing it all backwards. I thought I was getting vitamin D just being in the sun. Well, you got to be in the sun depending on your latitude. You're not even getting vitamin D until the sun's like 30 degrees high in the sky. So you have these windows throughout the day that you can get it. And that app helps you to dial that in. And then you find out that, other practitioners out there prove that, basically you're, like, for example, if I understand this correctly, that women do not get breast cancer if their vitamin D levels are up. So, and it's not that hard to do, folks. And you're going to feel so much better. I mean, I had this like shoulder pain. It maybe in the joint. I can't even tell you. It was something in my left arm going on. And then ever since I started raising my D levels, and I'm still not even at the minimum of what you should have. I mean, between 40 and 60 is where it ought to be. Mine right now is 37, and I gain another one just about every single day. But as I've been doing this, I've been noticing that pain just is eliminated. It's not even there. And, you sleep better, everything else goes better. So folks, I'm not trying to be your doctor or anything, but I'm trying to let you know everything I find out concerning your vitamin D levels and everything else in this whole biohacking space. And my biggest impetus is somewhat selfish. I'll be honest with you. Number one, well, to a certain extent, I guess it's not, but one of the biggest motivations for me is knowing full well that they are trying to kill us.
Yeah,
they really are. And I'm thinking, I love the work I do. There's nothing I love more doing in terms of a vocation than farming. Are there other careers out there where I could get paid lots more? Yeah. And I used to do one of them. And if I were doing it right now, I'd be pulling in more money than you could shake a stick at. But this is what I love to do, but it requires a lot out of me in terms of physical, the way I do it. I got to be able to flip compost. I got to be able to walk up the side of mountains and put in posts. I got to be able to do all this stuff, and to do it, if I want to do it as I'm an old man, Well, I'm going to have to figure out ways to turn back the clock. And that's why I'm letting you know about it. And honestly, everything I'm finding out, I'm just telling you for me, everything I'm finding out is 180 degrees different from what mainstream medical science is telling me. And following the decentralized advice of people like Jack Cruz and Alexis Cowan is honestly moving and it's an easy protocol, folks. So I would advise you to go over there and check them out. All right, y'all. Well, William, tell us what's happening on your end.
So some people were asking like if I've had any luck finding new property, and y'all, I want to thank you guys so much for the emails you guys have sent in. Plenty of people have offered me their property, whether it was like moving out to Missouri or moving out to South Carolina and Georgia. Yeah, a lot of people have, or even like deeper into Texas between Austin and Houston. Yeah, thank you guys so much for your generosity and your like hospitality and stuff. That's been amazing. Yeah, I'm right now. I'm praying for guidance and like confirmation on where I'm supposed to go right now. But I'm also very aware that it's time to get on up out of Texas. It's definitely time to get on up out of here. I was just talking to the backdoor neighbor who was one of the victims of the next door neighbor's dog, and apparently the same time that my chickens got shot, her roadside window got busted in too. So it looks like there was a full-blown retaliation on both of us from the next door neighbor's son. So there's that. But got cameras out, stuff like that. We're good to go. Keeping track of all that type of stuff. But other than that, as far as like farm stuff, just still trying to catch up. I still don't have anything growing as far as annual production out at the demonstration site, but the garden beds here at the house are filled up. Got tomatoes, potatoes, onions, garlic, a lot of stuff that isn't even the correct season for. We're just throwing it in the ground, giving it a shot with some high quality compost, doing the chicken tractor on steroids. I fed up. This is dang William in O Block, which is a bad part of Chicago. Not quite. It ain't quite like that, but it'll turn into that real quick. Then it'll straighten up. It's man. And then like the backdoor neighbor, I don't know what's going on with this doggone neighborhood, but the backdoor neighbor, her kids walked to the church on Wednesday. And it like her house is like where all the neighborhood kids kind of hang out and congregate and stuff. And on Wednesdays, they all meet up at that house and then they walk to the church. Well, apparently this 40-year-old dude has been following them around and videotaping them and was like up against their backyard the other day, videotaping her two like little girls out there in the backyard playing. Man, yeah. Man, anyways, I offered to walk those kids to church because it's literally just right down the road. But man, I don't know what's going on. That instantly pissed me off when I found out that guy was videotaping two little girls in their backyard up against the road and then hit the mom with his car twice. DeKalb police, there's one really good police officer here in DeKalb, and he's carrying the weight of everybody. Everybody else is just a bunch of like 10-year nincompoops. They're basically saying like, well, we can't really do anything unless you provide evidence. Meanwhile, there's 15 witnesses showing that she got hit by a car twice. Yeah, but also one of the guy that's instigating all this stuff between her, he's a part of one of the original families of DeKalb, so he's untouchable, like ignoring the fact that he's got a DUI just a couple of days ago and is just a complete piece of trash. Oh man.
Well,
that's what's going on here.
Well, thanks for the happy report. Yeah, so folks, we're going to move on. Wave Watch Billy 100 will get you $100 off a Wave Watch. They got a new design over there, so go check them out. Got mine on right now. And you know what? With all this vitamin D exposure, I'm realizing I need this thing a lot less. And the only times I really feel like I need to put it on for the most part is when I go to town. I mean, there are times where like your mom's hurting from doing a ruck or whatever. She's probably going to put this thing on and lay on the PEMF mat. But honestly, when I go to town, that's the only time I got to worry about anxiety. So anyway, if you need one, Billy 100 will get you squared away. Okay, coming up May 2nd through the 4th, Mountain Readiness. You want to go check them out, mountainreadiness.com. It's the best festival you don't know about. They bridge that gap between preparedness and homesteading, and there's so many awesome things you're going to learn out there. I honestly, that's pretty much the only one I'm going to in recent, coming up here soon. I think I may have one booked for the fall, but everybody else that's asking, I'm sorry, the answer's got to be no. I've got to get so many things. There's a lot of irons in the fire right now. And if I'm going to go somewhere, I need to. This is an area where I know where I can go and get trained. I know I can learn some things that I don't know about. So, folks, you're going to want to go there and go check it out. So go to mountainreadiness.com. Also, coming up May 4th, 1 to 4 p.m. down in, what's this place called? Lawrence, South Carolina. Go to homesteadgathering.com, I guess. Homesteadergathering.com or homesteadinggathering.com.
I'll double check that. I got you.
Okay, so homesteading.com or homesteader. I remember last time Denise says she couldn't find it because I said it wrong. It's one of those. So search around.
It's homesteadergathering.com, Lawrence, South Carolina.
Okay, homesteadergathering.com. I'll have to write that down, but I don't have an ink pen in here. All right, so Redemption Shield. Look, y'all, every time I do this show, I'm G'd up from the feet up. So even on the indoors, I still got my feet grounded on one of those Redemption Shield mats. So if you need one over there, Perma will get you 10% off. So go check them out. All right. So we'll come to some good news here. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I'd like to go to some of these questions in the chat. We got him. That's the name of this article. Hero Michigan police use heat cam to rescue missing toddler wearing only diapers on a frigid night. First of all, I'd like to know how that even happens. Yeah. So they use FLIR footage. You can use FLIR. They sell FLIR cameras and scopes and stuff like that. Where it's detecting body heat, and that's how they found this kid. So yeah, I'm glad they found him, but I'm like, why? How does that even happen in the first place? That the kid's out in the cold on a frigid night in Michigan by himself.
My baby isn't by herself. Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
I'm saying it probably must have been one of them neighborhoods you're living in.
Yeah, might be. My baby isn't by herself in our own doggone house ever. how does a baby go all the way to a bridge by themselves?
Need a license to drive a car, but any fool could have a baby. So yeah, but I'm going to call that one good news because I'm glad they found the child. All right, so here's another little article kind of on the hip of what I was just talking about. How vitamin D and B12 could be the missing link in preventing dementia. So, once again, think about that vitamin D, folks. If you look at some of the latest resources I'm checking out right now, and please don't be one of those people that tells me, oh, I don't have time. Look, I work 12 hours a day, every day, at least, and I'm still able to do this research, in between the raindrops, whenever I can. Folks, look into vitamin D and find out how it's one of those things that's so incredibly important, and taking a supplement is not going to do it. There is no alternative. Plus, there's a lot of other things that getting in the sunlight is actually going to help you with. And there's a reason why I'm wearing these blue blocker glasses, because I'm in a studio and I got to protect even though you have these receptors even on your skin, you got them everywhere. So it's really not good. That's why we kicked it on up 30 minutes. But anyway, vitamin D and B12 is absolutely helping out a great deal, and you got to stay on top of it. So this third article, Walmart celery recall raises new concerns about corporate food safety failures. Okay. You ever notice there's never a recall on mom and pop stuff?
I was just thinking the same thing. Same thing.
Yeah, it's only recalls, but who are the laws leveraged against the most? Mom and pops, even though we're not responsible for any of this, these outbreaks that happen in a Walmart or any other place, they impose all these things on us, but they don't impose them on these places that are getting food from Mexico, where they're defecating in the fields, and some of the other places out there where they're in horrible conditions, most of them. Yeah, sure is funny, this GMO and all the other garbage that they're growing out there, they don't have those restrictions, but they apply them to us. And this has been one of those big things that Joel Salatin has been real big on too. And I'm saying that's a good thing. Number one, they recalled the food, and number two, it should, if you are a thinking person, it should ask you, you should be asking yourself rather, why on earth am I buying some of this stuff that I can absolutely grow myself? Some of this stuff you can grow on a windowsill, on a balcony, in an apartment. I mean, just grow a little bit. It doesn't have to be everything. Just supplement it some kind of way, and it does your heart good. Just knowing. I try to eat something from my farm every single day. I try to every single day because there's other benefits you get out of just doing that very same thing. And this time of year, it just becomes much easier to do so. But, you know, in the winter months, I'm eating microgreens that are raised in the compost that I'm making, you know? So it's not perfect because it's kind of pseudo natural. I get it, but it's something. And it's, you know, and if you do it right, you know, the mint was growing all year. I could have been chewing on some of that, but you get benefits from all those things. But anyway, I'm calling that good news because now when you hear more and more about this stuff, and the prices are getting higher and higher and higher for the things that you find at Walmart, hopefully people are going to say, you know what, we got to buckle down and do something of a garden this year. Like William said, you could have put in your potatoes here before long. In certain places, you could put in your sweet potatoes. Yeah, so you're going to want to stay on top of that stuff. All right, so with that said, let's go to my man, Eric Sider.
Hey, Eric Sider here with your pimpcast tip of the day. Today's tip: how much land do we need? The following is taken from Permaculture 2 by Bill Mollison. Admire a large estate if you like, but farm a small one. Quote by Virgil. We have made perhaps the gravest or greediest error of them all. We have overreached ourselves. On the farmlands of the northwest coast of Tasmania, they speak of a man with too much land as land poor, and he will become the poorer as his holdings increase, somewhat like the greedy fisherman who catches fish until more fall overboard than he lands. If we could adjust land to our age, we might be thought of as wise, but we tend to get more land as we get older and treat it less kindly. The whole earth demonstrates the neglect of husbandry and the greed of men for land. Companies, too, are discovering that large holdings are large liabilities, and these will become even more so as the petrol pool dries up. Friends recently returned from China, where 45,000 people existed in a healthy state on some 8,000 hectares, to find their son in Australia going broke on the same area. People frequently ask how much land they need for self-sufficiency. The answer is, as much as you can control. Any more and you lose self-sufficiency, let alone the ability to produce in excess. If people ask, where do I start? Then the answer is always, at your doorstep. If you see a farm where the doorstep leads to weeds, then the weeds will go to the boundary. It is already out of control. Anybody, farmer or suburbanite, that has not planted a garden at the back doorstep hasn't started permaculture. If 4% of land, that small area around peasant houses in Russia, produces 60% of the food, what would happen if the peasants were given 8% of the land? It is that small plot not far from the house that is the most important area to cultivate. For the farmer, it may mean all the difference as to whether or not he can stay on the farm and survive market and energy fluctuations. For the suburbanite, it may mean the difference between survival and comfort or misery. There is probably some ideal plot around 750 to 1,000 square meters for the home garden, if one is thinking in terms of annual agriculture. Less means too little food, more means too much land to control. But the smaller the managed annual system can become, the more is left for perennial planting and for free-range animals and forage crop. What we observe in the Western world is a delinquent landscape. Suburban plots under lawns and cosmetic flowers and areas of urban blight around cities. More land cleared at the frontier and a desperate misuse of land in between. This system is not in any terms sustainable. At this moment, it seems clear that planning for high labor-intensive food production at the doorstep is the only way out of future crises. Vegetables can largely supplant monoculture grains for human food, as tree crops can largely supplant grains for animal forage. The energy savings of both these strategies are obvious and necessary. You can find me on YouTube and Instagram at Eric Sider, and if you're in need of permaculture t-shirts or remote permaculture consultation and design, head over to ericsider.com. And for those in the Sacramento area, check out my permaculture community group, permaculturefairoaks.org.
That's my dog, boy. He said a whole lot right there, man. And
Yeah, he did.
Value. I mean, and it's funny how every time whatever he says seems to hit on something we were talking about, and everybody thinks they need 1,000 acres or whatever, and that's not the case. I mean, in most cases, most people on, if you can, son, what do you find? I mean, it's something of a rhetorical question, but what do you find when a person is forced to work within small confines? What do you find in terms of their growing compared to a person on a wider set as a consultant?
Somebody who's stuck on like smaller confines make more use of the space that they have than somebody on a larger scale. Like what somebody can do, like, and you're also able to give more attention per square foot the smaller the acreage. For example, my backyard is going to yield more per square foot than somebody's 120 acre farm, because I'm able to pay more attention per square foot to this property than somebody on a 120 acre farm.
Yeah. And it comes down to really that. I mean, people get too much land and they forget to work right outside the back door. Okay. I mean, there's a reason why in permaculture zones, we zone these things the way we do. We have like literally out my front door. That's why I call the front porch 0.5 in term of zone. Like if your house is 0, I call the front porch, if you have one, 0.5. I call that zone 0.5. I don't know that anybody else does, but that's what I call it. And then right off of there is zone 1. So in that 0.5, is there stuff I'm growing on that porch? You better believe it. I mean, it could be medicinal, it could be just for beauty in some cases. But then you walk right off that porch, make a right-hand turn, bam, you're right there, first beds. All around the house, we have beds, where we're able to put them, especially in these mountains. So, there's a big statement to be made there. I don't care if, let's say you do have 100, 500 acres, whatever. Work as close to your house as you possibly can when it comes to those kinds of systems. And honestly, think about getting a permaculture design certificate. I mean, that's always going to help. All right, EMP Shield, $50 off with promo code PERMA. Look, things jump off, and judging by the things going off in this world, they probably are. You're not going to the club, you're going to the house. So check out EMP Shield, and they got stuff for your home too. If anything gets Kentucky Fried downstream, we're going to cover you for 25 G's. So, wow. Find me another transient voltage surge suppressor in all the market that's even in the ballpark with that, and I'll buy it. But there ain't. So go check them out. EMP Shield, promo code PERMA will get you $50 off. All right, so we're going to go right down this list of the questions that have popped in. And I've been wanting to do this. There's so many people that write to me, and I used to do it on the show, but as we've gotten bigger and bigger and more popular, it's more than I can bear. It's more than I can actually get to. And it almost to a certain extent seems unfair to those of you that are in here live. So it seems only right to answer the questions of the people that are here with us right now. So, and by the way, if you're new coming in, please hit that thumbs up. Tells them to go ahead and start suppressing us. So right off the bat, fed up. You're going to like this question, son. Yeah. Big Mike, man or woman?
Come on now. We all know that's a man. We all know that's a man. Come on now.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think, in fact, I think Candace Owens did a pretty good job of showing. I mean, okay, there are certain ratios of a man and a woman of how we're built.
Yeah.
Okay. And if some of these people knew the full extent of some of these women in Hollywood that are actually men that you don't know about. In fact, there are things like the way, for example, like on the fingers of a hand, they used to tell us in the Army. Yeah, this is going to sound crazy. I'm going to put my hands up on the screen. So down in places like, I don't know, some, developing countries, you have, like in Panama, they got these things called Quakos, man, where they're basically a dude, but you think they're a girl. And yeah, there was a story about this soldier found out it was a dude and broke this dude's back and threw him in the Panama Canal. So, I mean, there's consequences to some of this stuff. But anyway, they'd say check their hands, because if your first finger, now men do this right now. There's guys checking their wives as soon as I say this.
Yep.
Or girlfriends. So if your first finger is longer than your ring finger, you are a woman. Okay.
Or equal. Or equal.
They can be equal. But you can see right here, I'm full testosterone, son. Show them. That's right.
There's my first finger. There's my ring finger.
Yeah. Quite a bit shorter. Now, for women, these two, your first finger and your ring finger can be equal, but if your first finger is longer than your ring finger, you're dealing with a man.
Hold
Okay,
on. We
so
don't even need to look that close. We don't even need to look that close to to determine this.
I just wonder, like, if you're on a first date, how do you begin that conversation? I mean, look, I mean, what do you do? Put your hand. I don't even know how you go and check, but anyway, going back to Big Mike, there's also head to shoulder ratios and stuff like that that are absolutely spot on. Yeah, Big Mike is a man.
I'll say the same gender as Emmanuel Macron's wife.
Yes. Yes. Candace Owens did a lot of work on that. That, and worse yet, man, they're even saying that dude is his dad. I mean, I don't even, if people knew that this is what's so hard to communicate out there, is that John Q, you and me kind of people, they don't even believe, because they would never consider doing some of these things that these people do, especially the children, or they would never consider doing, but hey, some of these things are humiliation rituals. Oh, you want to be president? Okay, you're going to have to do this. You want to be prime minister? You're going to have to do that. Yeah. So, yeah. All right. So the next question out there. Yeah, keep throwing them. Will 10 pounds of onions harm compost, son?
No, I don't believe so. As long as you add the appropriate, those are high nitrogen items there. But as long as you add like the appropriate amount of carbon for that nitrogen, you should be good to go. I definitely wouldn't throw them in there whole, because that's going to take a while to break down. So maybe try to crush them or squash them or chop them up if possible. But yeah, you should be fine with that.
Yeah, anything you put in there, if you can chop it up, it's always number one, it's gonna help it heat up better. So that's a good thing. It's gonna help it heat up, and then in addition to that, you're going to want to create more surface tension or surface area on your nitrogen that you put in there. And by the way, folks, if you would put them in all caps, because it's hard enough to read with these glasses on. OKC in the house. What's up, Mason? I have Comfrey growing in my subdivision backyard and will be digging up and planting in my future homestead property. I've been putting foot to butt on clearing brush with an axe. Yeah, sometimes that's what it takes, man. Yeah, bro, you're doing it. You're going to get strong. William, any luck?
You might want to get a scythe, dude. You might want to.
Okay, I guess I'm sorry. I guess you already answered. William, any luck on finding a place? You've answered that one. What do you think about heavy wood ash, all winter deposits from the garden stove into the garden? I'm going to take.
He had an update question on that further down. He said, better question. If I loaded my garden up with wood ash over the winter, what else would you add right now?
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
I first of all, you want to be very, very cautious with using too much wood ash. If you ever watch the Amish, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. They have a little bag whenever they sow, and that's how they put their minerals back in the soil, is by using the ash deposits from the fireplace. So if you look at that little bag, it's just a little wisp of ash coming out of that that's actually going down as they're planting. So you want to be really, really cautious about that. It could really, I mean, your alkalinity can go really, really crazy. So I would not put ash, very, very little of it, in the garden. Now, what I've done with ash, one handy way of using it is for your chickens as a dust bath. That's a really handy way of doing it. That, that'll keep the mites away from them. Or do a chicken tractor on steroids.
Or you can also add it to a compost pile in your chicken tractor on steroids too, if you wanted to. But yeah, a little bit goes a long way when it comes to potash in like directly on your garden. So like maybe try to add some compost to the surface of that garden area if you can.
Yeah, I would definitely be cautious about using too much of that stuff. Okay, so Ken and Amy, you got to brag. Says my mom keeps up with us on our YouTube channel. Yeah, yeah. Nobody watches us. Not on my end.
So does my mom. My mom watches my YouTube channel too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even have time to watch as of late. I mean, I haven't been able to watch even my own stuff. I mean, I'm trying to answer questions when I'm able, but honestly, like everybody else, man, I'm going at 100 miles an hour. Fed Up says, question, what do y'all think about quail?
Oh, hey, before we get, there's one, it wasn't in all caps, but it's from Aaron House saying, William, I am days away from pulling the trigger on moving to Texas. Why is it not free? Am I making a mistake? if you're moving to the part of Texas I live in, yeah, you're messing up right there, dude. Like it's an improvement if you're moving from like Chicago or New York City or something like that. But I mean, it's like you're gonna get pulled over within your first week for sure. It like the cops are just largely revenue generation. Where I live, people are intentionally stupid. Like I don't know if you heard me talk about what was going on.
Hang on a sec. You keep bumping something on your end that's like messing up the sound. It's like you're hitting the desk or something. So you might want to watch your hands. It's
I'm
messing
not
up.
even in contact with anything.
Yeah. Well, I think you're not thinking about how you're doing it, but now that I'm
Okay.
telling you about it, you're not doing it, but you're thumping something and it's coming across.
Okay. But yeah, it's not free. There are freer states. I would recommend going to maybe like Tennessee or North Dakota or like somewhere around there. But yeah, Texas ain't really a place that I would recommend most people going. Now, that's without having experienced other parts of Texas. Over where I live, like East Texas, closer to Texarkana, it's this case. So
I'll give you my take on it. There was a reason why I escaped that place. The cops will shake you down for the change in your pockets. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, it is, people think, well, I'll go to Texas. There's no state tax. Well, I'll put it this way. I was working in an electrical, I was working as a inspector in this outfit in Sherman, Texas. There was at that time, 130 guys in that shop that I worked in, and we all worked under the same roof. Out of that 130, at least 100 of them were in between court dates for some garbage, for some nonsense. It wasn't like DUIs. I mean, there was a few of those, but that wasn't the prevailing thing. The cops will honestly just shake you down for the change in your pocket. It's like William said, yeah, so they don't have a state tax or whatever, but they're still getting a revenue generation by their for-profit prisons. And they're trying to I knew a guy that had a DUI 15 years prior and was still blowing into the doggone machine because they got to rent those things. It was, I mean, it's just awful. There may be some good things in Texas, but where I lived and what I saw, I mean, there's some people there that I absolutely love and care about. So I want to qualify that. Some of the best people I know in Texas and Oklahoma. But on the same token, there were reasons why I no longer live in those places, even though that's where I grew up. I mean, if I were you, if you're going to move to Texas, knock yourself out. But honestly, there was a reason why I never, ever, ever want to go back there ever again. And if anybody told me how bad the policing was down there, William got taken to jail because he had a dirty license plate and refused to sign the ticket.
No, not to jail, directly to the judge of a small town called DeKalb on a Sunday. Like the cop called the judge and brought me directly to the judge for having a dirty license plate. Not like stolen dirty, but had like gravel dust on my license plate dirty.
We live on a dirt road, for crying out loud. So, I mean, that's the kind of garbage. And folks, I could tell you stories. I mean, up one side and down the other. This is like straight out of Boss Hog. And it was like Dukes of Hazzard was a documentary. I mean, this is Boss Hog kind of stuff that goes on around there. So I wouldn't, if you want to live there, knock yourself out. But if I never go back there again, it's too soon. Sorry, but that's honestly that's what's going on back there. I thought I was retiring and moving there, only to find out that you have got to be kidding me. And everybody thinks, here's another little thing to think about. You think Texas, oh, nobody messes with Texas. Well, let me tell you something. I would bet money that there are fewer people prepared in Texas in terms of preparedness than probably any other place. They can, by and large, you will find people that can concern themselves with trucks and toys, a boat or whatever. And it's a one-upsmanship like nothing I've ever seen before. And they have no storable food. They have they would eat hot dogs every single night as long as they can drive a brand new truck. I could tell you some stories. That one kid in particular that was my apprentice when I was back there. So, yeah, I mean, if you think you're going to be surrounded by a bunch of people that are prepared, not Texas. I don't know. Mike Adams and a number of others seem to think opposite, but my experience, having grown up there and been around there, look, no, it would be one of, if the power were to go off tomorrow, that would be one of the worst places to be, seriously. So I know people are not going to like that answer, but if you want to hear the honest answer, that's keeping it absolutely real right there. So
and it honestly might be different in other places, because my experience is here in East Texas, like about as far east as you can get in Texas. That's my experience, but it might be different in like Western Texas, or even if you go down like south a little bit, not closer to Houston. Careful with that. But in other places, it might be different. Here, if you want something, okay, the reason you're moving to Texas, Tennessee offers and much more.
With a lot more freedom, without the cops beating you over the head. And like you said, I want to qualify that, because East Texas, Central Texas to a certain extent, but I've never seen anything even close as bad as East Texas. I would not advise anybody to live in that place. I know other people haven't had the same experiences, but I don't even know how many times your mom got pulled over for absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. And so all right, so let's move on to some other stuff here. So question, what do y'all think about quail? I don't personally have any. I know Jack Spirko's a big quail fan. I don't have any personal experience outside of eating them. I haven't raised them before. I'm not a big fan of working that hard to get an egg. I mean, I know that much, but I love quail. There was a place in Oklahoma City where it was like the Harley Davidson place where they had all you could eat quail on like Tuesday or something. Yeah, I was like there every single time. I love to eat quail, but I don't have a whole lot of experience raising them.
Keep in mind, it's something that you have to bring all the inputs to. So instead of like, I mean, chickens can be that way to an extent, but I can like free range chickens without all of them dying that same day if I wanted to. Same thing with sheep. Like I can move sheep and bring them to the inputs, whereas quail, I have to bring all their inputs to them. Same thing with like if I had rabbits and hutches, I would have to bring all their inputs to them. So just keep that in mind.
Aaron says, have you had yellow jackets in your compost piles? I have, and I'm not sure how to get them out. I'll be honest with you, Aaron. I've never had that problem. How would I get them out? Good night. I've never had to deal with that one before.
I would try to heat it up. I would start peeing in a bottle over like a gallon jug over the course of a couple of days. Well, you might have some problems doing that. Maybe like get your husband to do that. Maybe pee in a jug and then try to heat that compost pile up and try to get them kicked out of there. It's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, I would put on, obviously you're going to have to put on a bee suit. That's probably the best option, is to go ahead and reheat that pile if you can, or flip it. They're not going to like the disturbance. And if you go out there in a bee suit, yeah, they're all going to come after you, but hey, you get them out of there. But man, it's not like you can even put any kind of bee killer on them out there, because it's going to screw up your compost. So yeah, it's not like, wow.
You could try to spray them with like some Dawn dish soap. I know that works on wasps, and it like immediately starts eating away at their exoskeleton. Maybe try to do like a combination of like a mixture of Dawn dish soap and like water, and then try to spray them with that. Still put on a bee suit, or like have a high powered sprayer or something. But maybe that might work.
Yeah, maybe flip that pile. Wow, that's new territory. I'd never even heard of that before, but wow. And I'm gonna be thinking about that. So Stephanie says, with the chicken tractor steroid system, do you need to keep the piles moist? I'm glad you mentioned that. Yes, you do. And that's that's why right out of the gates, we don't suggest that anybody do, if you're new to this, unless you have a really good unless you have a working knowledge of chickens and composting both, I would not suggest the chicken tractor on steroids. Part of it is if you could first make, let's say, an 18-day pile, or the pile that we show you how to make on Patreon, 2 different methods there. If you could first and then realize, okay, this is what my compost should look like, this is how it should be. When you understand that, you're going to realize that in a chicken tractor on steroids, yes, it is going, you got to keep them moist. And they're going to tear down part of the pile. Depending on what's in it, they may tear the whole pile down. When you have 3 different piles out there, it's a little bit different. And depending on the number of pressure you have on there, there's so many what ifs in a scenario like that. But yes, you do have to keep them, at least the core of them. You want to keep that as moist as you can. So when you start getting in the summer like that, it's going to be harder. It's going to be harder to maintain that. But yes, it will require water. Let's see.
I just saw Colleen Bowman's comment. She said, "Come to North Idaho and learn how to grow in a different climate." Idaho, Montana, Wyoming; those are also options to move to instead of Texas. Oh, they're pretty.
No. I mean, it's a beautiful place, but I'm saying not for me in terms of. I'm trying to go to a place at this. As I get older, I'm trying to be in places where I can optimize sunlight. And if you don't optimize sunlight, then you have to optimize cold. It's fascinating stuff. This is why I want to get Jack Cruz on the show, because when you look at this stuff in places like Idaho and some of these other places, you got to pick one or the other. And I'm to the point where I would much rather optimize the sunlight than have to optimize the cold. But yes, those are options. Plus, there's a higher freedom quotient in places like that too. Pretty sure the cops aren't shaking you down for the change in your pockets. Let's see here. What else we got going on in here? So I'm working down some of these comments here. Oh, DHT, we do the same with our herbs. I'm not sure what that means.
James Morgan said, "Any pictures of pregnant Michelle Obama?" Nope.
Yeah, how about that?
Size 11 heels and men's.
Yeah, I kind of figured that Michelle Obama question, boy, that was really going to get some things fired up around here. But hey, I mean, I honestly believe that's a dude. And then you watch her on the Ellen DeGeneres show. There was something shaking around in there. I guess. Oh, Kevin's in the house. So if anybody has any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. No, I saw her in that Ellen DeGeneres show. Good night. I'll tell you what, if anybody was sitting stage side, she would have knocked your eyeballs out with it. I'm telling you what, that whatever was down there was a whole lot of black comedians getting a lot of hay off of that one. Then they're like, oh no.
There were a lot of black comedians that had to recount their previous statements whenever she became first wife.
Yeah, but there's some of these tests that are like unimpeachable, man, that determine, like I said, the finger test. You find me a dude, a real man, I guarantee Kevin's, your first finger is not longer than your ring finger. So, yeah. I mean, if
you're not a part of the Yakuza.
Yeah. Yeah, unless somebody chopped it off. Alabama black snake, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Michelle. Oh yeah. So permaculture Q&A. What is something I can plant to keep the soil from eroding away on my new swale? Well, I don't know where you are, my friend. Dan Lowe Music is saying, what can you, it depends. So
getting any kind of ground cover in general is going to help keep the erosion at back. Like, what is something I can plant to keep the soil from eroding away on my new swale? So, like, whenever you dig a swale, one of the first things you should try to do is immediately get it planted. And that doesn't necessarily mean with trees, but try to get some sort of root structure on that mound as soon as possible. Like clover is a good one, depending on where you are and what your climate is and what season it is and everything. But try to I keep seeing the Alabama black snake, but try to get some sort of cover crop down as soon as possible. Strawberries right now would be a good thing to plant in place, and that'll also produce food. Yeah, there's any kind of cover crop that'll work in your area at the moment will be perfect.
Well, when you get in the summer, buckwheat, cowpea, that's my go-to no matter the climate, whether it's here in North Carolina or whether it was back in Texas. That's the one your mom came up with. It's a really good combination because it'll go up. It does well. And depending on, the heat it depends on where you are. So I don't know that, but find a good seed mix that'll hold things in place. Oh, Kevin, please keep your money, brother. But thank you.
Man. Thanks, man.
Yeah, somebody says, did you hear that CI was a hiding. CIA was hiding Osama bin Laden in an Iranian safe house since 2001. No, I haven't heard of that, Mr. Swan, but I will say this, depending on where, look, they're doing everything possible to try to make Iran, first of all, look who put Iran in the position it is right now. You know, we threw out Mossadegh in Iran. You know, Eisenhower was responsible for that all those years ago. And we wonder why Iran and every country in the world hates us right now. Look under Operation Condor, nearly every leader south of Texas, we murdered. Our CIA did it or created a coup. Gaddafi, you were told all this garbage about what was going on, and I'm going somewhere with this, trust me. Gaddafi, you were told about all this stuff that was going on in Libya. He was strafing his people. At the time, I was doing talk radio in Kansas City, and there were people wanting to kick me off because I was like, are you people out of your mind? You're telling me you're strafing people from an aircraft with 20 millimeter cannons, and that's what they're using. You would have seen blood and guts everywhere. Didn't happen. It was a lie. It was a manufactured lie, just like all the others. So going back to this thing with Osama bin Laden, well, you look at Benazir Bhutto, who was the prime minister of Pakistan at the time, and they murdered her because she said what really happened with Osama bin Laden. And it's pretty cold-blooded. And I'll bet money our CIA was behind that too. So going back to your thing with Iran, anything they tell us about Iran, I don't believe. You know what? I don't have a beef with Iran. And the only reason anybody else out there does, and I'm not saying you do, but the only reason they're doing that is because they're trying to make. If my government told me the sun rose in the east, honestly, if they told me that, I would go out and check. But we just believe these people no matter how many times they lie to us, no matter, look, they're not ever going to talk me into going to war with somebody again. And I know they're not going to talk my son into it, but whatever they tell me, depending on where, you know, they're hiding bin Laden. Yeah, maybe they got, I was going to say something off color, but I'll save that for another time. Yeah.
Hey, here's one from M. Nickel. Is there a way to use cat waste in compost? Eric Sider actually did a video on how to use dog and cat poop in your compost. So I would check out his method of doing it. He's about the only person's opinion I would trust as far as composting like cat and dog poop. And then right below him, Vanessa Margarita says, how do you guys make the structure that holds your compost? So just scrap pieces of woven wire fence, and then you can line the inside of that with hardware cloth, or I've even found some like black plastic hardware cloth that was like a third of the price. But yeah, I want to say it is about, like, if you have it stretched out, you need the volume of it to be over a cubic yard. But if you have 48-inch tall woven wire fence, I want to say your length of the fence, if it's stretched out, the circumference of it needs to be about 18 to 19 feet long. And that should give you just over a cubic yard. I just round up to 20. You can do anywhere between 1 cubic yard to 3 cubic yards before you have any issues. No less than 1, no more than 3. Over 3, you run the risk of compost fires. But yeah, that's how you make it. And then Skane's girl right below her says, William, how big should a tree seedling be? I have several that I would like to bring to Midwest preparedness. Oak, gum, etc. Kind of depends on what you're wanting to do with it. But yeah, as long as it's growing, I mean, that's progress. That's a good thing. I'll see you at Midwest Preparedness Project. That'll be cool.
Yeah, Henry Boy says, what is the best way to compost or prep leaf mold to use for planting into this summer? It is fully black and broken down, man. If it's broken down, I'd throw it right on top. I mean, yeah. If it's already broken down, I mean, you already got a winner right there. So that's technically compost at that point. I would throw it right on top. Don't ever, if you can, think about how nature does it. Nature always puts the fertility on top. Don't do this stuff where you're disturbing the soil, because every time you do that, you're screwing up the capillarity in it. Now, honestly, if you got to go after potatoes, that's one thing. But by and large, you just want to put all your fertility on top, because that's exactly how nature does it. Should I try to plant fruit trees in this or keep it in pots? I don't know what in this.
I do. In the prior comment, she says, I live on all limestone and have oak and cedar. We are slowly getting rid of the cedar. Should I try to plant fruit trees in this or keep in pots? I would go ahead and try to get that in the ground. I mean, clearly trees grow in your area if oaks and cedars are growing there. So it's not like you're dealing with like the basalt desert of like Taos, New Mexico or anything like that. So you have proven trees that can grow there. I would go ahead and get those fruit trees in the ground.
I would also put a massive, massive mulch ring on them. Especially if you're doing that this time of year. The best time to plant a tree is in the fall. So if you're putting one in now, you're going to have to baby it through the summer. No doubt about that. Now, if you planted that same tree in the fall, put a really good mulch ring on it, less so. You probably wouldn't even have to look after it at all. But honestly, in situations like that, I mean, I have put mulch rings around trees in situations like that, or where it was awful soil. Make it really, really big and at least a foot tall, and do not cover up the graft union, and don't plant the graft union. So that's another good. Yeah, I try to get everything out of pots unless you're growing some Meyer lemons or something. How do you guys build a structure for your compost pile? Oh, I guess you already answered that. I guess you ran down.
No, I ran back up. She just recommented.
Oh, okay.
How is Arkansas or Missouri for Homestead Place?
I think they're great. I think
what?
Yeah, I mean, no, okay. I do because I know. Well, we've lived in close proximity to both. It depends on where you're going exactly. There's some beautiful places in both Arkansas and Missouri. A lot of good people. A lot of good people, and a lot of people that are into preparedness in both places. And honestly, your money's going to stretch a whole lot further in Arkansas, but there are places to be had in Missouri. I mean, I know people in both places. So
I will say the people are awesome in both places. Arkansas, I'd be cautious going up northern. Like, Arkansas is cool. There are really, I guess I should take that back. There are some really cool spots in Arkansas, but there are some really bad spots in Arkansas too. You got to be careful where you're moving in Arkansas. Same thing with Missouri. Missouri, for example, has some Torah communities that also traffic humans. So, like, you got to be careful. There's a lot of cult activity in both locations, and there's something going on with the Ozark Mountains. It's not even a feeling. Huh?
Well, son, I was going to say that's every mountain. There seems to be, if you look even in the Bible, I mean, there's a lot of good or bad that happens on top of mountains. I mean,
yeah.
You know, and I think that's why all these freakazoids come into places like Asheville, and why this is like the #1 witch capital in America, and why they pick some of these other places, because they're de facto high places. And you see a high degree of weirdos in places like this, no doubt about that. Kevin says, hey, that's a good word about warning our sons never again. But he says something here that, man, Kevin, I wish I can give you this money back. The only war I'll fight is the one that shows up at my doorstep. Amen to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's exactly, they're doing every overture they possibly can to start a war with Iran. Oh, let me get this right. The only country left that doesn't have a Rockefeller or a bank from the Rothschilds. How about that? Syria was one of the last holdouts too, but we managed to overthrow them as well. When the history books are written, folks, it's not going to be kind to the United States of amnesia. I hate to say that. As a former soldier, I hate to tell you that, but the honest truth is we have nothing on the Roman Empire. And don't tell me we're not an empire. We got 900 military bases in 130 countries. You think that makes you an empire? I would say it does. And that's the ones we know about. We're not even talking about it kills me with this Doge thing. Oh, yeah, they found all this money over here. Good, wonderful. Now let's check the black budget. How about the Pentagon? Nobody ever talks about the black budget. Don't know what that is? Go look into it. All these people like Catherine Austin Fitts have talked about, what was it, 4 trillion unaccounted that have gone into the black budget. 4 trillion. And they're making these underground bases, or they call them DUMBs, DUMBS, deep underground military bases. Yeah, so maybe we ought to think about some of that stuff. Do you guys grow moringa trees? We have before back in Texas, and I love moringa. Love everything. Every part of it's practically edible. And it grows so flipping fast, it will absolutely blow your mind. I only had one, though, that made it through the winter back there. I ended up wrapping it up in bubble wrap and stuff like that. And out of all the ones that came up, I mean, even if you use that tree for nothing more than something to grow a bunch of carbon,
Yeah.
I mean, even if you just grew that thing, I mean, it must have grew 12 feet in a season.
It grows. Oh, I would say probably taller than that. It grows so doggone fast. Like it is a crop that is worth doing annual production on if you don't live in the subtropics or if you have freezing temperatures through the winter. That's where it kind of kills the moringa. But if you don't have freezing temperatures, you should definitely be growing it. And even if you do have freezing temperatures, it's worth growing it through your growing season and everything. And I mean, you might find like a little microclimate or a little pocket where it overwinters well. But you can do what Dad said and like cut it back, wrap it in bubble wrap, and then kind of protect it through the winter, and then keep growing it year after year.
Yeah, with powers that shouldn't be spraying even at nighttime, can rainwater still be used before resorting to the city water? Thank you both. It's been okay. So that's a great question. I'll be honest with you. I really don't know. I mean, I haven't done the research on that. And frankly, I don't know of a whole lot of people that have, or anybody for that matter. That's something I'm going to have to ask Dane Wigington about. Dane, he called me up the other day and, man, usually when he and I are usually playing phone tag back and forth, trying to get a hold of one another because we're both busy. He's in California time. I'm out here in my time. And then there's a point where, honestly, under my new lifestyle, there is a time where the phone turns off. So if you're trying to text me or call me, I am not going to subject my eyes to blue light in any form or even be around that thing. I'm doing everything I can to keep myself away from it. So Dane and I usually play phone tagging, but next time I get a hold of him, I'm going to have to ask him. But my suspicion is probably it's not safe. So,
I would say it's better than probably city water, though.
Probably. I mean, at least there's no fluoride in it. But yeah, you get all these microplastics and everything else they're putting in there. Any suggestion on growing grapes? We planted 5 in the fall and put down heavy mulch. Snow has melted, but cannot tell if they made it through the winter. Yeah, grapes they're gonna want to kick things up a little bit later. Depends on the grapes.
She's also in northern Idaho, so it's still. Yeah, I mean, you still got a little bit of time before you're going to see any growth from those grapes just yet.
Well, I know Stefan Subkowiak. It depends on the grapes too. When I was up in Canada, Stefan Subkowiak, man, they weren't muscadines. They weren't, obviously, they're not growing muscadines up in Canada, but they were like currants, but they weren't currants. It was some other kind of grape. And he was at a much higher latitude than you, and he had some pretty darn robust grape production going on up there. So
she's on a mountain, though.
It's still, well, then for every 1,000 feet you go up, that means you go up a latitude. For every 1,000 feet you go up in altitude. So if you're on the side of a mountain, I don't know what your altitude is, but I would bet money that you probably grow some grapes up there. At least maybe not the variety you're doing, but probably something like that. What do you think about all the covering garden areas with biochar to keep the stratospheric aerosol injections contaminant out of the soil? See, those are strategies we're going to have to worry, Mr. Swan. Those are honestly, these are strategies we're just going to have to research. I don't know. I don't know how far biochar is going to go, and I don't think it's going to do much. I think you're going to need something that if you have biochar that's charged, maybe it might help, or maybe I'm all wet. So you're at 2,800 feet. Okay. Yeah. I bet there's some grapes that'll grow up there. I'm not sure what you put in, but yeah, you're probably a little bit early. You guys are still probably freezing up there. So
yeah.
I wish you guys would start another channel for all the extra awesomeness, commentary, and advice. I miss those good old porch talks from you in the early days. Haha. You still do those. Vanessa, thank you so much for that. We're actually thinking about starting up another podcast. It's just this time of year we have William, is when the days are longer, that's the problem with all of us farmers right now, is the days run long, long, long. Now, this is work I love to do, so I'm not complaining. So when you're in a situation like that, we're wanting to start up another podcast where we talk more about some things that are off the beaten path. And it's just a matter, but we got so many doggone irons in the fire. So, and as far as the porch talks, I'm going to try to start doing those a little bit more. It's just trying to find the bandwidth right now. That's the real tough part. So thank you so much for that. Concord grapes. You know what? I don't know, but I bet you can do them up there. I would bet money if you're up in Idaho at 3,000 feet, you're just going to have to take some time. You probably make some really good grapes up there. I know places at a higher latitude in Canada that are doing good grapes. Like I said, Stefan's grape production was off the flipping charts to the point where they were a nuisance. And well, yeah, he was telling people, even as his members, like, please take as many as you want of everything. That's how crazy it was. All right, son, anything else to add?
Juby Joe has one more question. William, are you moving closer to mom and dad? The plan is to move like Eastern Tennessee. That's where I would like to move. That's where I would like to go, is Eastern Tennessee. I love Tennessee. It's my favorite state. It's closer to my parents. It's amazing. Tennessee is one of the best doggone states in the union. It really is. And also, fun fact, Tennessee is the reason Texas is even here. So, yep, like everybody has all this pride in Texas and whatnot. Texas is Texas because of Tennessee. So, yeah.
Yeah, but what I love about Tennessee is you have all the cool things that you may like about Texas without any of the garbage. So, yeah, I love... we are an hour north of Canada. Oh, okay. Yeah, so yeah, I'm all about some Tennessee. Let me tell you, I love, if I had it to do over again, I would have moved 9 miles north and ended up in Tennessee. Because even when COVID was at its full swing in Asheville, it gave license to every weirdo around here wanting to boss people around. That wasn't going on in Tennessee. You can drive right across the border. Nobody's making you wear a mask, which we now know is the worst thing you could have done. But everybody just fell in line. Yeah, so you could have just drove 9 miles across the border, get into Tennessee, and nobody was flipping their brains. So nobody was complying at that part in Tennessee, but everybody was in Asheville, but nobody was getting sick in Tennessee. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
None of the idiot restrictions. Once again, going back to what I was saying a minute ago, if your government tells you this is a wonderful idea, you might want to think about doing the very opposite. In fact, that's pretty much the only way I operate these days. So I don't care who it is, even if it's a person you may tend to like. Think about this: 538 people in Washington, and the only one you can trust is Thomas Massey. The only one. I mean, think about this. So, yeah, gotta love it. All right, so hey, I want to thank everybody for coming in tonight. Yeah, long days, long nights, short nights, but long days definitely. But really digging the warmer weather, and I hope everybody's going to be safe out there. Speaking of safe, folks, just keep your head on the swivel right now. 2025. I've talked about it before, the Deagle Report. I know this podcast is a little bit long right here, but I want to just make sure I reemphasize the need for you to not fall back on your preparedness. If anything, I think things are more precarious now than they've ever been. And everybody thinks we've arrived since Trump got into office. I don't know how you qualify that. I'm not seeing anybody going to jail. Yeah. How many people did we hear would go to jail? Cash Patel, all these others claiming Bobby Kennedy was supposed to make America healthy again, and now he's out here biggest champion for Big Pharma. It looks an awful lot like new boss, same as the old boss. You got played again if you were believing any of this stuff. So, folks, just until next time, bottom line is stay alert,
stay alive.
Learn a new thing, channel and nature, let the knowledge ring, with roots that run deep, wisdom from soil, permaculture dream, let the ideas unfold, I'm grooving with the truth. the answers. All we need to do, listen to the earth, they got us through. Let's see the change, watch the world spin. From the smallest sprout to harmony begin. In the cycle of life, where the magic's alive. Tune it to